10-minute book review, The Gadfly. Today, we delve into the classic, The Gadfly. Avoiding reality is a mark of cowardice. Facing life head-on is the true sign of a hero. The story is set in 19th century Italy, a country shrouded under the rule of the Austrian Empire. The Roman Catholic Church, serving as the spiritual backbone of feudal rule, aided both the Austrian rulers and the feudal lords. However, in Italy, there was a group of revolutionaries who formed a secret society, the Young Italy Party. They led countless passionate youths to fight for national independence and to battle for the unification and liberation of Italy. The protagonist, Arthur, is one such revolutionary. Born into the wealthy Bolton family in England, Arthur's mother joined the family as a stepmother. His father's first wife had left 2 sons, close in age to Arthur's mother, which made Arthur's relationship with his brothers distant. After his father's death, although his brothers tried to protect his mother, his eldest brother's wife treated her with extreme cruelty and heartlessness. When his mother passed away, his relationship with the family grew even more strained. Fortunately, his brothers were never stingy with money, and though the house lacked warmth, he found comfort and love in his confessor, Father Montanelli, and his childhood friend Gemma. At that time, Montanelli, the rector of the Pisa Seminary, was a longtime friend of Arthur's family, a man of great learning and noble character, whom Arthur held in high regard and trust. On a sweltering summer night, during a heart-to-heart talk, Arthur confided in Montanelli his plan to join the secret society Young Italy, which aimed to resist Austrian rule and liberate Italy. Understanding the dangers, Montanelli was deeply concerned and tried to persuade Arthur to join him on a specimen-gathering trip to the Alps, hoping to dissuade him. Although they spent a pleasant holiday together, Montanelli's wish was not fulfilled. Soon after, Montanelli was appointed bishop of the Apennine Mountains by the Catholic Church, meaning he would leave Arthur. His successor, Father Cardi, was not a man to be trusted. Worried about Arthur's safety, Montanelli was reluctant to leave. He hoped Arthur would ask him to stay, but Arthur, misunderstanding his intentions, urged him to accept the position. Reluctantly, Montanelli left, heavy with worry. Gemma, a fellow student at Arthur's university and a fervent supporter of Young Italy, had grown increasingly close to one of the group's leaders, Bolla. When Arthur saw Gemma and Bolla behaving intimately, he was furious and stormed out. In his distress, Arthur sought solace from Father Cardi, whom he barely knew. Letting down his guard, he revealed some of Young Italy's activities and even mentioned Bolla's name. Soon after, both he and Bolla were arrested by the Austrian military police, and almost overnight, the revolutionaries were dealt a devastating blow. Some fled, while others were killed in the streets. Arthur endured brutal torture in prison, refusing to betray his comrades, and was eventually released due to his brother's intervention. When he learned from a jailer that Father Cardi had betrayed him, his spirit was shattered, and he began to question the hypocrisy of religion. Gemma, who came to greet him upon his release, mistakenly believed that Arthur had betrayed the organization, slapped him, and left in anger. Heartbroken and desperate, Arthur returned home only to face another crushing blow. His sister-in-law, who sought to drive him out of the house, revealed a long-kept secret. Arthur was the illegitimate child of his mother and Montanelli. This news was like a bolt from the blue, shattering all of Arthur's fond memories of the world and religion. He smashed the statue of Jesus in the house, left a suicide note, and finally fled Italy, hiding on a ship bound for South America. Italy was full of misunderstanding, hypocrisy, and deceit, while South America was steeped in darkness and suffering. For Arthur, it was a living hell. There, he experienced vagrancy, hunger, beatings, and humiliation, both physically and mentally. Yet, suffering is the best crucible for life. Those hellish days left him not only with scars but also with strength, coldness, and cunning. 13 years passed in a flash, and Italy's political situation remained chaotic, with various factions still vying for power. On an evening in July 1846, in a country villa outside Florence, a group of revolutionaries anxiously awaited the arrival of a prominent figure. Soon, a lame and disfigured man hobbled in, grinning, with a scar on his face resembling a writhing centipede. He derided the government and the church, exposing their ugliness and hypocrisy with scathing articles, his pen as sharp as a sword, every stroke deadly. His critiques were incisive, his proposals practical, but his fierce appearance made it hard to believe he was the famed revolutionary writer, the Gadfly. In the days that followed, the Gadfly wrote articles criticizing the status quo, awakening the people, giving speeches everywhere, calling for anti-imperial and anti-feudal action, even smuggling arms and participating in guerrilla warfare. His heart burned with passion, his actions were resolute, he showed no mercy to the enemy, and he was indifferent to the misunderstandings and rejection from the masses. Yet, can you imagine that the Gadfly before you is the melancholy Prince Arthur from 13 years ago? Reuniting with the woman he once deeply loved, he hid behind a mask of indifference. After an illness, he recounted his past 13 years to her as an observer, revealing his vulnerability and pain for the first time since their reunion. At that time, the church was undoubtedly the #1 enemy, and the Gadfly was secretly sabotaging its efforts in the diocese. He planned to procure some firearms and launch an explosion, but just before the action, an unexpected arrival disrupted his plans. That person was none other than Montanelli, now a cardinal and the Gadfly's biological father. After years of separation, seeing Montanelli again, the Gadfly was overwhelmed with mixed emotions, nostalgia for their past friendship and hatred for the church's deeds. After a painful struggle, the Gadfly decided that their paths were irreconcilable. However, another unexpected event occurred. The Gadfly was captured. The prison ordeal struck suddenly, and before the Gadfly could figure out what had gone wrong, he was tortured beyond recognition. In the damp cell, insects crawled over his bloody body as he lay helpless, enduring waves of excruciating pain. The reactionary government decided to execute him by firing squad, an event that shocked Montanelli. By then, Montanelli had realized that the Gadfly was Arthur. Montanelli personally dressed the Gadfly's wounds, pleading with him in a loving tone to renounce the fight, promising that if he left the revolution, he could live a life of the highest dignity. The Gadfly looked at Montanelli with anger, his heart in agony, furious at his own temptation and pained by the lack of understanding. He stared at Montanelli, saying, "My life is of no use to me except to fight priests." In the end, the Gadfly demanded Montanelli make a choice, either leave the church and fight alongside him or remain a loyal servant of the church and watch him walk to his death. Montanelli, unable to persuade the Gadfly, chose the latter after a painful internal struggle. Finally, the Gadfly was taken to the execution ground, dragged like a piece of rotten meat. As he was about to be shot, he smiled and directed the soldiers to aim at his body. In his final moments, he questioned the priest, "Is your God satisfied?" He could not let go of the priest's choice until his last breath. He was shot multiple times, his body riddled with bullets. After his death, Montanelli was devastated, questioning the congregation during church activities. "Are you satisfied?" Montanelli sacrificed his son for these people, only to realize after his son's death that they were not worth it. Shortly afterward, Montanelli died from a ruptured blood vessel. Earlier, the Gadfly's unyielding spirit had moved the jailers, who volunteered to help deliver a letter to Gemma. In the letter, the Gadfly finally forgave Gemma, confessed that he was Arthur, and expressed his undying love for her. The letter bore no signature, but at the end was a poem they had learned together as children. "Then am I a happy fly, if I live or if I die." Reflecting on the Gadfly's life, it seems like a turbulent river, rushing through shallows and rapids, only to plunge headlong into the sea. He was betrayed by the person he trusted most, hurt by the woman he loved the most, and even when reduced to a crippled body, working as a laborer in a sugarcane field or performing as a clown in a circus, the Gadfly never gave up on his pursuit. The Gadfly's resolute words, "To give up my life to Italy, to help in freeing her from all this slavery and wretchedness," was the noble belief that supported the Gadfly to rise again and again. Those without independent spirit and faith are nothing but walking corpses. Faith is the backbone of the spirit, and a noble faith is like a guiding light, giving infinite spiritual strength to those on the cusp of dawn. This strength encourages people to face life and bravely endure the hardships of living. As we live in an era of rapid development, where opportunities and challenges coexist, only those with strong willpower and independent spirit can stay ahead. Let's end today's reading with a quote from the book. "What is the use of vows? They are not what binds people." If you feel in a certain way about a thing, that binds you to it. If you don't feel that way, nothing else can bind you.